Alright, this video I'm making today is about suffering, like what it is and how some people cope with their suffering uh, and how that could be wrong and how it's just a ever-ending cycle that um, will continue unless you actually understand. At least that's just what I think about it. So suffering is living in pain in a state of displeasure, um, a state of unhappiness, pain, displeasure that you're dealing with, and a lot of people go through the suffering. Every human suffers in their life because not everyone, because everyone's attached to something. Suffering is caused due to attachment to things in life. Um, if we weren't attached to anything, we wouldn't suffer. If we had no attachments to anything, there would be nothing to be sad about. You would just you would just be you. But how do people cope with suffering in this world? I think a lot of people already know. Like, people who get addicted to drugs and they live uh, vicariously through others, um, and they don't live for themselves. It's sometimes the pain is too intense where it's just not worth dealing with the suffering and try to escape it, which doesn't solve the problem, but often just increases the suffering. It makes it a lot more unbearable. But I think the something that I like view when I like suffer in my life, um, I view it as something that, like, it shows me that I'm human. I think I don't view it as a good thing, but I view it as something. Okay, everyone goes through it. How am I gonna how am I gonna prevail? How am I gonna keep on going? Because what's the alternative? Is the alternative to sit there and dwell and be sad about my suffering, or to try to understand my suffering and to make a way out, to become happy, or not actually, not to be happy, but to understand my suffering, why am I suffering, and how do I stop my suffering. And I think a lot of people, they want to be happy, they want to, and that's where I made a mistake there, because I don't want to be happy. Like, I want to be happy, but I don't live my life to become happy, because you never. It's just a waste of time, because if you spend your whole life trying to achieve happiness, you'll never fulfill it, because happiness is a temporary emotion. My life is temporary. My suffering is temporary. All Nothing good or bad will be forever. So why would I attempt, or why would I want to try to achieve something that is temporary, or use my purpose, or to give this excuse of what my purpose is, to be something that's temporary. Purpose is something that is forever fulfilling. It's to be fulfilled. Happiness is not fulfilling because it's temporary. How can something be temporary be fulfilling? It's not. It's fulfilling in that moment, but it's not fulfilling in the long run. So uh, I want to, like, take it back to, like, how I dealt with suffering in my life, uh, and, like, the mistakes I made, and then how it kind of helped me when I realized. So let's give an example. when I was like in middle or high school, I have really bad anxiety, so I like talking to people in social situations or just being in social situations in general, just having to walk somewhere, having to drive to my car to a store or to walk in public or just to be around in any public situation. I have panic attacks and I like have like really bad like I sweat and I get nervous and like start jittering and stuff like that. And it's a very scary, intense feeling that I have, and that's my suffering. I still go through it to this day. It's probably something that I'll always go through, social anxiety, but suffering through it. So how did I cope with suffering through that? I coped through it. I didn't do anything bad, you know. I think when I was younger, I always understood that I understood that the path not to go down, but I wasn't solving the problem, and that was just sitting there and dwelling on my suffering, which I think is, which I think is, it's not a good thing, but it's how you start. You know, like if you dwell on it, it's not good because then it will bring you down. Then it can cause you to be prone to other mistakes like suicidal thoughts and depression and stuff like that. And that's how people go down these coping mechanisms of drugs and alcohol and partying and living lives that they're not really them. I didn't really have that. I was depressed and stuff like that. I had suicidal thoughts, but I wasn't. But it was more. I'm glad I went through that because I dwelled on it and it made me think. I was always thinking. I was always thinking, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? But I wasn't thinking. I was thinking, but I wasn't thinking. You know, and then I tried to understand like what suffering is and how it is temporary. And sometimes I'm happy. Like, oh yeah, I'm happy today. Let's go. I'm happy. Nice. I'm not always sad. But there's always something bad that's gonna happen. Like I'm not sad. Happiness is always temporary because right when you, especially with my life, I kind of like view it like as okay, one day I'm happy and then the next day I'm sad, or when I make one step up, to the next day is two steps down. Like that's literally how my life has been, like since ever since like high school, like graduation, like it was a big step in my life. Let's go, I'm graduating, but I gotta go move. I gotta go pack my bags, move, never and be alone. So that's two steps down. Move to a new city, what's called by myself, in a disgusting environment was that I thought was grotesque. I wasn't. It's not. It was more that I was more, you know, just disappointed in my situation at the time, more than the actual reality of it. Which my reality is real because that's what I perceive. So if I think it's grotesque, I think it's grotesque, but I know it's not really grotesque, which is how I feel. That's how I perceived it at the time. And but once I realized that it's all just temporary, it made me learn to detach from these feelings, because what was making me sad was, me wanting something, me not being able to have it. And that's so huge of understanding that I'm the one causing my suffering. Like me wanting it is what's causing it. If I don't want it, I don't suffer. And it's so, and then I know for a fact it's so easy to say, easier said than done. And that's the perfect phrase for this whole like understanding of suffering and how do I end suffering is simply not want it, which is impossible. Humans want everything. My flesh is what wants everything. It wants everything that it's not supposed to have. It wants everything that it needs. It needs. It's not that it wants. It needs. So I'm so imperfect that I need things and I want things. So I think just the best way is just to have that simple understanding can change your whole view on what on what suffering is and how to cope with it. And for me, it changed my life. Uh, it helped me push things that I was causing them to suffer. It helped me cut things off that were making me suffer. But I didn't realize it because I was so blinded by my attachment. My attachment is what kept me hurting. It's what kept me suffering. And once I realized that, I just got to let go because I can't grow or I can't seek further if I'm continuing to allow this to drag me down. And that's how I cope with my suffering.